Hey guys, welcome back to the DeeTimeLove channel, and today I've got a very interesting video. We've got a new brand that's never been featured on the DeeTimeLove channel before. Those of you that are real dive watch enthusiasts will be very aware about Spinnaker, but those of you that are not, Spinnaker watches have really established themselves for producing really sort of like vintage dive watches within the watch world, and they really take their inspiration from early 70s dive watches. And Spinnaker got in contact with myself to basically review the new Bradner Spinnaker watch range, and I was happy to oblige. But before I go into too much detail in relation to my first impressions about this Spinnaker watch, let's check what's on the wrist today. Let's do a quick wristwatch check. And today I'm sporting the Seiko Alpinist on this frog leather strap by Gecko watches. Very cool indeed. But anyway, let's take a closer look at this new Bradner watch by Spinnaker. And it comes in a rectangle box, a bit like what you get your domestic Japanese Seiko models. Same sort of style. Let's open this out. So your basic stuff for your instructions, for more details, text and images, blah, blah, blah. Link to their website. I have worn this watch, guys, for a week now. So it puts me in a very good position to really discuss, you know, my real first impressions in relation to this watch. Now, when I first opened this watch, when I first opened the box, sorry, and looked at this watch, the first thing that really struck me was that blue navy dial. It's got that sort of sunburst effect when the light hits it. Very cool indeed. I was very intrigued by the color combination Spinnaker have used, and I really do like the sort of patina type indices of the lume. It just really gives it that vintage retro vibe. And that very cool and very much inspired by that compressor style case. Now, when we say compressor style case, for those of you that aren't aware what compressor style case is, this case has two crowns. So one is actually for the function of the movement to adjust the time, and the other one is actually for a internal rotating bezel. Very, very cool indeed, I have to say. Very impressive. But before I go into too much detail about the dial, let's look at the dimensions of this watch. Now, diameter, you're looking at 42 millimeters. We just turn it to the side. You have a 14 millimeter in terms of depth, in terms of thickness. Fairly thick watch, I have to say. From lug to lug, you're looking at 50 millimeters. Now, lug width, bear with me. Lug width, you are looking at 20 millimeters. Now, for a 42 millimeter case, normally I would have expected a 22 millimeter lug width. But I have to say, with 20 millimeters, it makes the actual timepiece look a little bit more imposing, gives it even more presence in terms of scale and size. But let's have a look at the aesthetics and style of the watch. Now, let's take a closer look at this actual dial. And like I said, look at the applied Spinnaker logo. I like that. Very cool indeed. Look at the minute hand and hour hand. There's, I don't know how well you can see that in the camera. It has sort of like a brush steel finish on it, which is very cool indeed. I love the lume they've used, that patina look, very cool indeed. And I love how they've matched the, if you have a look underneath where it says automatic, they've got the red of 150 meters font there, and they've also matched it with the second hand as well, which is very cool, very nicely matched. I love that color combination with the blue, that sort of beige patina dark, indices. Very cool, very vintage inspired. But if you look at the internal rotating bezel, they're sort of elevated a little bit to give it that sort of 3D visual display. Very cool indeed. It does tend to distort This is an actual sapphire crystal, and it really gives it that element of vintage, that vintage vibe that you get with your acrylic crystals. Those of you that own, say, for example, a vintage Rolex Datejust, if you look at that sort of acrylic crystal, it really distorts at different angles, but this distorts around the actual bezel, giving it that sort of vintage retro look, which you quite like, but I don't know if it will appeal to everybody, but I don't mind it. I think it looks pretty cool the way it distorts. But I love how they've actually got the, you know, there's like tracker within the bezel as well, which is very good. It's just absolutely delightful, I have to say. I'm really wasn't expecting this from Spinnaker. I didn't know what to expect really, but for 285 bucks, what can I say? It's very good value for money. Let's just check out the internal rotating bezel. Very cool indeed. Yes, very nice, I have to say. Very nice indeed. Very cool indeed. And let's have a look at the case itself. What sort of brushing? So you've got sort of like a let's have a look. You've got like a vertical brushing there. Fair enough. Nothing spectacular, but not bad at all. And a circular sort of brushing there as well. The only thing that's polished are the crowns. Now, the internal rotating bezel crown is not a screw down crown. However, the actual crown that actually helps you adjust the time is polished as well, and you can see the Spinnaker logo as well. And let's have a look at the back of the watch, and we've got a clear display back, so we've got automatic, and the movement this has is the NH35 by Seiko, a very reliable, robust movement, I have to say. I believe it to be a 24 jewel movement, 42 hours power reserve, and it beats within 21,600 beats per hour. It's become really a micro brand favorite movement because it's so reliable, robust. They're not going to have any problems with this watch going forward. So Spinnaker have played it very safe indeed. Now they've even actually decorated the rotor. You know, for me, yeah, fair enough. You know, for me, you know, the movement's not anything amazing. I probably would have preferred maybe a chiseled out case back of some sort. I don't know, would have been cool, but you know, it's fair enough. It says it's sapphire crystal. I believe that the clear case back is sapphire crystal as well, and so is the actual it's solid sapphire crystal covering the bezel and that dial. Very cool indeed. It is 150 meters water resistant watch. Let's have a look at the leather strap that this comes with. It's like a suede type finish. Very cool. I like the stitching. It really does match the indices as well. Very cool indeed, I have to say. This is a waterproof strap. Water resistant. Very nice indeed. I do like the colour combination. There are many different other colour combinations available. So I believe there is a green dial, there's a black dial, and there's different types of finishing as well, black PVD. I'll leave a link in the description below. But what are my overall impressions? I mean, for the money, and I have to say, look, they've got their logo there, brush steel buckle, for the money, 285 bucks plus my 20% discount. I'm not just saying this. It's extremely good value for money. Now, how do I sit with this? You know, you've got 285 bucks, okay, which isn't a lot of money. So what you're going to be getting are, you'll probably go for a Seiko watch, with all honesty, or a Citizen Pro Master, or a Seiko XKX. However, their design is not as adventurous as what you get with the Spinnaker, okay? It's not as attractive as the Spinnaker watch, arguably, okay? You know, what you're getting with the Seiko is an iconic watch, for example. To be honest with you, it's quite hard to compare this with a Seiko XKX because the mere fact of it is this is a compressor style watch, dive watch, inspired vintage 70s watch. which has met modern design. And what I mean by that, it's got an upgraded movement with manual hacking. It's got sapphire crystal. The only real competition this watch has is the Dan Henry compressor style watch. And the only difference when I looked at the spec really on that watch is that they're using a crystal which is coated with a sapphire coating as such. So spec wise and material wise, you know, the Spinnaker watch is very good value for money for what you get as a package. Would I buy one? I would personally buy one, and I'll tell you the reasons why. Spinnaker and a lot of the micro brands, if you're looking for something a little bit different, something that is inspired by vintage design but doesn't have the issues of buying a vintage watch, with all the reliability of modern watches of today, with a very reliable, robust Seiko movement, NH35, manual wind, hacking, 42-hour power reserve, sapphire crystal, something with real presence on the wrist, something that will be a topic of conversation when you discuss the compressor style case. This is definitely a good watch for you to consider, either in the market for a compressor style watch or an affordable dive watch, which is slightly a little bit more adventurous from the norm, from your normal Seikos and your Citizen Pro Masters and your Orients. There's just something about it. I think what gets me, I'm a real sucker for blue dials. I love that patina indices as well. I love the internal rotating bezel. Very cool features, I have to say. Great color combination. And I love the leather strap as well. Waterproof as well. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck here. Very good value for money. But what are my criticisms of this watch? What don't I dislike? What do I dislike about this watch? And I have to say, there aren't many things. What would I change on this watch? Now, don't get me wrong. Clear case backs are cool. The NH35 movement is nothing special. And Seiko provide clear case backs on their Seiko 5 watches that are even lesser movements than this, for example. However, I would have preferred if they finished off the back case with an engraving, I don't know, of a submarine or something sea related, would have been a little bit more appealing to me. However, you know, this will appeal to many people. The size 42mm is good and probably will fit more wrists, but I would have preferred it to have been 40mm. It would have been even more cool and in keeping with that vintage vibe, to be honest with you. However, you know, I think at 42mm it's going to have a wider audience, and at 42mm is probably the biggest size I would go on a dive watch, because I've got a wrist that's under 7 inches. So let's do a quick wristwatch check with this timepiece on. Bear with me. The joy of watch reviews and watch collecting. What is there not to enjoy about watches, guys? I have to say, I absolutely love watches in general. And let's take a closer look at the Bradner Spinnaker on the wrist. Now, it fits relatively well, I have to say. It's very comfortable. I am impressed with the strap. I'm probably going to change the strap, to be honest with you, just to match it up with something else, maybe a blue croc. I don't know yet. I'm still thinking about what I'm going to do with this, but has some real presence, I have to say. Very cool with the signature, the brand logo on the buckle there as well. It's just a cool timepiece. I think it's got the cool factor, I have to say. I would definitely recommend these Spinnaker watches. I quite like what they're doing, you know, with these vintage inspired dive watches. They're offering something a little bit more different. They're a little bit more adventurous than the more traditional watch brands at this price point. If you're going after your Orient, Ray, or a Seiko, you know, or a Citizen Pro Master, whatever it may be, spec wise, material wise, you will find it pretty hard to be beat. in terms of material. I believe this is 316L stainless steel, sapphire crystal, NH35 Seiko movement, internal rotating bezel. Very cool indeed. And the strap as well is a waterproof suede sort. I don't know how the water will affect it. Oh, you know, one thing I did notice that I think could be better on the Spinnaker watch is the lume. The lume is good, but I think they needed a few more coats of lume to make it a little bit more brighter. You know, it's super luminova, but it's not quite Seiko. It's not quite as good as the Seiko lume, but that's to be expected. You know, Seiko produced some of the best lume in the watch industry, with all honesty. But overall, it does get the DeeTime highly recommended watch, the Bradner. Check the link below. If you like the watch, you can get 20% off any of their watches on their website if you use the promo code in the description below. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's mini review. Don't forget to like the video if you love the content and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my latest videos. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.